More than 100 years ago, Californians gave themselves the right to recall a governor if they weren't happy with how things were going. Since then, people have tried to oust California's top dog 55 times. In fact, every single California governor since 1960 has faced a recall attempt. But it was only in 2003 when an attempt actually made it successfully onto the ballot. That's when Democratic Governor Gray Davis lost his job and Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger took over. It was a first for California, and only the second time it had happened in the United States. For you history buffs out there, the first successful recall was of North Dakota's governor in 1921. Back to the here and now. The campaign to unseat Governor Gavin Newsom was spearheaded by retired Yolo County Sheriff Sergeant Orrin Heatley, who leads the California Patriot Coalition. Heatley's campaign didn't get much attention until November 2020, when in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, Newsom attended a dinner party at the upscale French Laundry restaurant in violation of his own public health orders. When this information went public, nearly 500,000 people rushed to sign on to Heatley's efforts. To qualify for the ballot, a recall campaign needs the backing of 12% of the people who voted in the last gubernatorial election. Heatley's efforts were gathering steam, but he needed more time to gather enough signatures. Citing COVID-19 lockdowns as the reason, he asked for an extension and got it from Judge James Arguelles, who'd been nominated to the bench just months earlier by President Donald Trump. Arguelles gave the Recall Gavin campaign 4 extra months to gather signatures, noting that he had granted similar extensions to 2 initiatives backed by Democrats earlier in the year. In April 2021, the Recall campaign showed they had the support of 14% of past voters when they submitted 1.7 million valid signatures. At that point, there's typically a budgeting and legislative process that takes months before an election date gets set. Most pundits expected the date to be in November, when voters are, used to voting. But public approval of Governor Newsom's handling of the pandemic had started to rise, and Democrats wanted to ride that momentum. Democratic State Senator Steve Glazer put it this way in a tweet about the governor. He has rebounded well with vaccines and budget. His biggest threats are the unknowns, virus variant, fires, school reopening. No reason to delay and give opposition any more running room. So Democrats sped up the timeline. Legislators zoomed through the budget process and changed the law to waive the usual 30-day review period. Republican leaders called the governor a cheater, but their hands were tied. The date was set for September 14th. There's been no shortage of Republican candidates vying to replace Newsom. There's conservative talk show host Larry Elder, the former mayor of San Diego, Kevin Faulconer, Assemblymember Kevin Kiley, who wrote a book advocating for this recall, businessperson John Cox, who's been campaigning with a live bear. He ran for governor in 2018, but lost. Former Olympian, reality TV star, and transgender rights activist Caitlyn Jenner. And Democrat Kevin Paffrath, a 29-year-old YouTube influencer. Campaign money has been pouring in. Recall supporters have raised about $14 million to date. Newsom's team has a nearly 5 times advantage. They've raised over $70 million. Most of that money, almost 90%, was contributed from inside California along typical lines. Real estate developers and restaurant owners want to unseat Newsom, while labor unions and the California Teachers Association are lining up to support the governor. There are 2 questions on the ballot. The first is, should the governor be recalled from office? The second is, if the governor is removed, who should take his place? If more than 50% of voters say yes to recalling Newsom in the first question, then whichever challenger receives the most votes in question number 2 becomes the new governor. No matter who wins, voters will soon have to weigh in again on who should lead California, because the next election is right around the corner in 2022. For KQED Newsroom, I'm Monica Lam.